Hi, we're down at RMSJ and we're going to do our tacking video down there. We're going to use Breeze as our demonstrator because she's been down here at the horse show. Ignore the bandages on her feet, okay? You won't see those on your horse back at the barn. But she's down here competing with Mia and she's been doing really well, by the way. Tacking up. It's not quite like the barn at home. We've got a saddle rack on the stalls at home. You would have your bridle. We're going to start with putting on the martingale. Now, of course, your horse is tied up, okay? The martingale is going to go on. There's a buckle on one side. One of the ends has a big loop. One of the ends has a little loop. We're going to put it over her head. Now, we can untie her, or to make it easier and quicker, we can just unsnap the lead rope. Pass it over her head, keeping her halter on, okay? And then snap it back up. So as you can see, the buckle's on this side, ready to go on, okay? This is the first piece of equipment we would put on our horse when we're tacking up. Next, we're going to do the saddle, starting with the pads, okay? You've got a square pad. That goes on first, and you put it up high over her withers. This is the wither bone right here, okay? Big arched bone. You slide it back down so that the hair all lies nice and flat. Once you put a pad on your horse, you never just pull it up like that because it makes the hairs pull against the skin, okay? So again, we put it up high, we slide it down, okay? You can see the strap here where the girth is going to go behind her elbow. Whatever pad your horse uses, they're all different. They're all lettered, so you make sure you get the right one. You set it on like that. We do not walk away from our horse once we have our pads on, okay? Our saddle is right handy. You never, ever, ever want to walk away from your horse and leave anything sitting on their back. Then we set the saddle up. If you're not tall enough, please get a stool. You want to be able to put the saddle down on their back and not try to shove it up where the pads all go long. Okay? We pull the pads up at the front of the saddle, just nicely there. Your pad should be centered on either side of the saddle. There is a strip down the middle of your pad that you can make sure is exactly in the middle of your saddle. We attach our girth. Mia's girth here has elastics on both sides. Not all girths do. Some only have elastic on one side. If you have a girth that doesn't have elastic on one side, that is the one you do up first on the right side of the horse, okay? So you walk under your horse, pass the girth through the girth keepers. Always, 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 we use the first strap of the saddle. Then we can use either of the next straps. I prefer the first strap and the last strap. If you look at how your saddle's made, okay, this saddle isn't a good example, but a lot of times the first strap goes all the way over the saddle and is the first strap on the other side. Then these next two straps are just stitched onto webbing. So safety feature, if one breaks, you're going to use the first one and the last one, okay? I prefer the last one because when you're riding and you pull your leathers down, this is going to sit nicely right between the two buckles of the girth, okay? So we've got that done. And we're going to walk back to the other side of our horse. Now, we're going to pass the martingale through her leg. Again, this has obviously got to be a bigger loop because the girth has to fit through it. So, we slide our girth through it. The important thing is before you do your girth up, make sure you slide this to the center of her chest, okay? We don't want it to be over to the side where it's going to catch on her elbow. When we do up our saddle, okay, a lot of our horses get grumpy. Reason is, a lot of kids and parents who like to help, dads in particular, don't really know how to do this, and they do it up way too tight. It just needs to be done up snug enough that it's going to hold the saddle on. Okay, again, it passes through the keepers on the saddle pad. You'll see I put the flap on my head so that I can see there. And then I've got lots of room to tighten it. I'm on the third hole on the other side, the first hole on this side. When you're putting a girth on the saddle, keep in mind you're going to want to tighten it. You want your girth the same height on each side. Okay? If your girth is too big and you're already up at the top, that's not going to be very safe. Okay? You need to get a smaller girth. If your girth doesn't fit, you can't just keep tightening it and tightening it. Okay? Your horses will get very angry. They start biting. They pin their ears. All kinds of signs. They swish their tail. They move around a lot. Things like that let you know that somebody's not been saddling them properly. Okay? You have to remember there's no such thing as a bad horse. There's bad horsemen. Okay? So if your horse is acting up, you need to stop what you're doing, get help, or think there is a problem. Okay? Thanks, guys. We'll talk about bridling next